What is going on, everybody? This is Sports Opinionated back with another video. Today we're going to talk about the Seahawks, and they made two really interesting moves. They released their starting defensive tackle, Jarren Reed, and they also brought Carlos Dunlap back. They cut him a couple weeks ago for cap reasons. So I'm going to go into it. I'm going to go into the details, how I overall feel about the signings and the release. And if you could just do me a favor, like this video, and if you want to see more NFL content like this, just subscribe. Help me grow my channel. And without further ado, let's just get into it. So let's first get into Jarren Reed. So they drafted him in the second round of the 2016 NFL draft, and for the first couple years, he didn't really do much. He was kind of stacked behind the depth chart, and he was a solid run defender, occasional pass rush guy. But in 2018, he really had a breakout season with 10.5 sacks. And after this, the perception really around him changed since he had a really great season. People thought that he was one of the young and upcoming really good young studs when it comes to defensive tackles. He ended up missing 6 games in 2019 of a PED suspension, and really ever since then, we never really seen him return to his form. He signed a 2-year, $23 million extension after his contract expired, and last year was the first year of the extension, and he played pretty good. He had 6.5 sacks. But, I think some of those sacks were more cleanup sacks, and they weren't really just pure penetration. He's also not really the best run stuffer. So overall, with the $14 million cap hit that he was set to have this year, I really thought the Seahawks would have released him before free agency. Honestly, I think they kind of did him a disservice since most of the teams spent all their money, and free agency is mostly wrapped up. There's still some guys here and there, but I really think they should have released him before then and got a better handle. But they save about $9 million. About $5 million is in dead cap, so they're still going to be paying him a little bit, but I would have tried to ask him for a contract restructure, to take a pay cut, but I don't know if they did or did not, but obviously, he's cut now, and I think he's a solid player. He's a solid rotation guy. If I'm on a team and I'm contending, maybe I bring him in as a third down pass rusher, for third and longs, and honestly, that could be really good value. But as a starting defensive tackle, I don't think he's the greatest, just overall not the best run stopper. But yeah, I think this was a really good move. The Seahawks had to make it. They were tied up against the cap. And corresponding, about an hour after this, news came out that they re-signed Carlos Dunlap. And, Carlos Dunlap, he's always been a good player, but I was looking at the stats. I didn't even know how good this guy was. Since 2010, he has 87.5 sacks. Crazy. He had so many good years that really he was just consistent. He had a couple breakout seasons, but he was just so consistent as a pass rusher. And I never really realized that the production was there for that long. But last year, he got traded from the Bengals, and it wasn't really on him. It was more of they were just trying to play their young pass rushers, Carl Lawson, Sam Hubbard. So they ended up trading him to Seattle, and this was a complete change for the Seahawks defense. He got traded, first game played the Buffalo. I think they had 8 sacks that game, and really ever since he came on, after that game, they started playing really good defense down the stretch. I think they went from 31st to 32nd ranked in defense all the way to 22, which, it's a leap. It's not the greatest, but they played really good in the second half of the season, and he had 6.5 sacks too. And unlike Jarren Reed's stats, these sacks were just pure pressure. A lot of one-on-one matchups that he was winning, and he was super disruptive. He really changed his defensive line and really helped out the secondary as well. And he resigned on a 2-year, $16.6 million deal, so that's about $8.3 a year, which really isn't bad for a really solid edge rusher. They saved about $14 million, so it saves them about $6 million, and also they're able to spread the cap hit out for this year, so it's not as bad. And so this really frees up a lot of cap for the Seahawks, and I wonder if they try to use this money to re-sign KJ Wright, or maybe bring in another corner. But I think this was a good move. They also got Kerry Hyder from the 49ers, and I'm not going to lie, I've never really heard of him. But, he had an 8-sack year for Detroit a few years ago, and he had 8.5 sacks last year. So I think they're honestly, they're a lot better at pass rush. This is a great move, honestly. And they have L.J. Collier, Alton Robinson, Darrell Taylor, if he can play. They have some pieces there, and they just need the production to be there. But I really like this move. I still think they need a corner. I'd like to see them try to get KJ Wright back. But this is a great move for the Seahawks, and I've already made a video about how they really fixed their offense. So this move, it's a tough division, but this is still going to be a really good team, and I'm excited to see what they can do next year.